Meteorologist Brandon Lashpick here with a quick check of the tropics for your Saturday evening. We now have Tropical Storm Debby in the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. You see on current satellite a lot of storm activity, but really doesn't have a consolidated core just yet. The center of it, though, is just to the west of the Florida Keys. As of the 7 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center, the winds are at 40 miles per hour with pressure of about 1,005 millibars, moving off to the northwest at 14 miles per hour. Now the forecast does keep the center of the storm over the warm Gulf waters, and that will help it strengthen to about a strong tropical storm or maybe even a Category 1 storm as it's making landfall roughly along the Big Bend coast of Florida. Now all along the west coast of Florida, you see the blue and the yellow. Those are tropical storm warnings and watches, which indicate tropical storm conditions are possible or expected along the western coast of Florida. Now the center circulation will have the strongest winds, of course, and that will be moving into the Big Bend of Florida, where there is a hurricane warning in effect in red there. Now beyond landfall, the forecast track does have a little bit of uncertainty on whether or not the center moves back over the Atlantic waters or stays inland over Georgia or South Carolina, but it is likely that the system will be slowing down by then, as the upper level steering winds will be a little bit more weaker, providing that chance for the storm to slow down, and that will really produce a pretty big heavy rainfall threat for that portion of the country. So on the future track, here's our in-house Barron model showcasing some of the wind strengths. As we go into Sunday, that's when we're going to see the tropical storm force winds and wind gusts moving into the west coast of Florida as the center is over the Gulf waters. Then roughly around Sunday night or into early Monday, that's when we could see a landfall along the Big Bend coast, again as a tropical storm or maybe even a Category 1 storm. Now beyond that, this model keeps the center over land, but again, it's possible it could be over water, and that may bring a little bit more of re-strengthening, a possibility, as we see it moving over Georgia and into the Carolinas by then. So with the southwesterly winds along the west coast of Florida, that does bring the chance or the possibility for some storm surge. Along the Big Bend, where landfall will be roughly around 4 to 7 feet possible above ground, and then down toward Tampa Bay, around 2 to 4 feet of storm surge a possibility. Now as we look at the rainfall totals, that would be, I think, the biggest threat with this system, especially as it slows down. You see anywhere from about 6 to 12 inches of rainfall possibility from northern Florida into coastal Georgia and coastal South Carolina. Locally higher amounts possible with this as well, as again flooding will be a main concern too. So interest in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, even North Carolina too, needs to monitor the system and the progress of the storm. Now here in Louisiana, in the Baton Rouge area, New Orleans, Southeast Louisiana, we are not expecting any direct impacts from the system, but of course, we will keep monitoring this for you as we continue to track the tropics on air and online at BRProd.com.